sing?
Please don't. Please don't do that. Well, because you got it wrong last time you said it. Welcome to the Jamie and Stevens Show. Let's talk movies, music and magic. And this week we are talking about The Sword in the Stone. Yeah. I'm Stephen and you are...
Jamie!
Oh, she did sing. She got it in.
I did.
She got that in.
Hey, when we get to the song section, I'll be singing.
Oh, God.
Yeah, The Sword in the Stone. Oh, my God. I've been really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's one of those I'd never watched as a kid. One of the very first DVDs that I bought.
Okay.
Because I'd never seen it as a kid, so I wanted to see it. And yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, when we get to the opinions, we'll go from that. So, I know you've got some facts. So
so obviously, start off, it's the 18th classic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was released in 1963.
Same year as Doctor Who started.
Oh, Stephen, you would know that.
I did know that. 3 years after Korra.
This is quite an important film in regards to the company and when it was released, etc. Because this will be the last animated feature film that Disney had complete,
it's the last one
released.
There
to the end, was there to see it finished, had seen it after it's finished, but he would only be alive 3 more years. And one of my facts, I'm glad, which we'll get to, which is to do, with Disney. It's quite fitting considering this is the last film that he would have had complete say over from start to finish. So yeah, but let's not dwell on that just yet. So IMDb synopsis. A poor boy named Arthur learns the power of love, kindness, knowledge and bravery with the help of a wizard called Merlin in the path to become one of the most beloved kings in English history. I think that's accurate.
It's there. Yeah.
It's a bit romanticised, but, fluffied up a bit. But because obviously in reality it wouldn't have been so.
No, yeah.
If he was a real person. But as we know, he is just a legend.
Do we know that?
I think so. I don't think he's real.
We don't know.
We don't know. It's like Robin Hood.
We don't know. Yeah, it's like Robin Hood.
Like stories and poems and that have been written about him for so many long time that people believe you, but we're not 100%.
Yeah, we just don't know. I mean, obviously, there's bits that surround it, like Merlin and stuff like that don't.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there was a king that was similar. But, and I think there is, like, a few rocks left of what people believe was his castle. Maybe not rocks, stones, maybe.
Yeah. Do you know what? There is a stone in my garden that came. It's part of the stone that the sword was in. And it's in my garden. If anyone wants to buy it. I won't discuss that here. Yes, you can drop me an email or something. Let me know. Buy me a trip to Disney. So, my synopsis.
Yeah.
You're looking at me like, oh God, what this is going to be.
Which way is he going to go?
An old man takes a special interest in a young boy.
I knew you were going to do that way.
Of course I was. Oh. It got me for and the thing that he teaches is about love. Just saying.
Okay. It's an hour and 19 minutes, so the same length as the previous film.
Yes.
So we're still over the 1/4 mark. We're at that 1:20.
Yeah, I don't believe it goes down now.
Oh, really?
I think it's very much at this point and higher. I don't think we see...
I feel like this could have been... They could have easily cut 5 minutes and made it an hour and a quarter. It was...
do you know what? And this is...
Stretched.
This is an issue.
I'm not going to say it's dragged, but it's stretched.
Yeah. The issue that I have with every single film, including The Black Cauldron, can't believe I've just said that, and all the way up until basically Little Mermaid, is the musical score disappears. there's a lot of scenes where there's no music for quite a long time, and it does make it sound a bit unfinished. And it also, it just kind of, it just takes it away, makes things drag a little bit more, because you're not heightened with the emotion or anything, where it does have musical bits in there, but I did notice there's quite a few bits when there's a lot of dialogue and there's no kind of background music or any sound effects, because they're literally just talking. And that makes it a bit slower.
It cost $3 million to make, but only made 12.
I mean, that's still...
it's
still
not
doing something. But
this was 12 at that time. It's not since then. But I don't think this has had the re-release success and video success and so forth that previous films have had, especially the one that, we watched last week.
Yeah.
That has made a lot of money.
101 Dalmatians, if anyone's wondering.
Yes.
In fact, no, go back and watch it.
Listen.
Listen to our podcast and see what we've... Yeah.
Right, the cast. So Arthur is played by Ricky Sorensen. There wasn't really anything else that I knew of him from, and I only managed to find pictures of him as a young boy.
Yeah, I mean, kind of that was the way he stayed for.
I know he did continue acting, but I think he went more radio and theatre, maybe stage.
I mean, for Disney fans, you would have seen him in The Cat from Outer Space. I'm not saying that anyone's watched that film, but that's where you'd see him. That's on Disney Plus. So if you want to know what he looks like, he's in that. I think it's a small role. It's not a main one. And
because when I saw his picture, I didn't recognise him.
Yeah. And he was in Father of the Bride.
Yeah, the series.
Yeah.
So it's not the films. It's a series, which again, didn't know that there was a Father of the Bride series, and I've not watched it. I've not even seen clips.
No. So it's... Yeah, it is a shame, but his voice as Arthur, I recognise.
Yeah.
It's very stereotypical from that time.
Yeah.
Like, I was almost convinced that he was Mowgli and Taran from The Black Cauldron.
Yeah, very similar. And a bit as well, like, obviously Kurt Russell when he was a young boy and working for Disney.
Yeah.
The boy in Swiss Family Robinson, they all had those, like...
bit of Bobby Driscoll voice.
Yeah,
that's very...
But sadly he died young of cancer. 47, that's all he was.
Yeah.
In 1994, but...
actually the longest surviving cast member.
Oh.
Yeah. Of the main cast.
Okay. As in, like, 94, the year he died, not the age.
Yeah, not the age.
Yeah.
So,
people
yeah.
But yeah, he had 4 children. He left 4 children. So, yeah, at least, he did have a family. He didn't die.
Yeah.
Alone or with no,
one around him or... Yeah.
Unlike Bobby Driscoll.
Yeah. We've seen a few people who have, over the earlier Disney films when we've been doing this podcast, there was Cliff Edwards.
Yeah.
Jiminy Cricket, he died alone.
Yeah.
And Bobby Driscoll went into Pauper's grave. It wasn't identified. And then, so at least this one has a... He did have family. Yeah.
He did,
It's a happier story, albeit a short one.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you had the fact, it's probably the most well-known one about this film, but during the production, he hit puberty.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell.
Yeah, and his voice
changed. It changes, and not because that we're hearing his changed voice. All of a sudden, it does...
We hear
to clearly somebody else.
Yeah.
A bit like
I believe it's the son of the director. Or
Rifleman.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say it's like Troy Bolton from High School Musical. You know, that's clearly not Zac Efron's voice.
No, in that first one.
In that first film, and then after...
They were like, oh, we can sing.
Yeah. But yeah, Rifleman, both his sons.
Yeah.
And one of them, I think, goes on to do Mowgli. So, yeah, you saying how...
Yeah, it just sounds... Yeah.
Yeah.
There were bits where you could hear his voice breaking.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a lot, but I liked that.
Yeah, I think
they should have just kept it.
I mean, we don't know what the difference would have been.
No, but apparently it was only for certain lines.
Right.
It wasn't for a whole...
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been a scene.
It's not like it ruined the film or anything. In fact, it's, he's supposed to be a boy of 12.
Yeah.
So it's the right time for that to happen. So I think
they should have kept it in and had the voice breaking up a little bit.
Whereas Mowgli...
It's younger.
Is supposed to be like 8.
Yeah.
A boy. But yeah. The narrator and Sir Ector.
Oh, yes.
Is played by Sebastian Cabot, who we will hear again in The Jungle Book. And as Bagheera.
Yes.
And he narrated something else.
He narrated Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, Winnie the Pooh, that's it.
Winnie the Pooh. And he's actually, yes, I heard it in his voice. It wasn't Bagheera that I linked him up with. It was the Winnie the Pooh, yeah. For fans of the parks, he is also Claude in the Enchanted Tiki Room. Oh.
Well, I have yet to experience
yes.
the room, as I've not been to other than Disneyland Paris. So yeah.
He was also considered for the role of George Banks in Mary Poppins, and the character of Barnaby in Babes in Toyland.
No, they picked the right Mr. Banks.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah.
I'm just because I'm trying to remember what his picture looked like, and no.
Yeah, no, this
does look old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He passed away in 1977.
Oh, okay.
You're going to hear me say that quite a bit, by the
way. Merlin is by Carl Swenson, but when I looked, although he'd been in lots of films, I didn't know any of them. There weren't anything that I had watched.
He originally, when he started out in life, he wanted to be a doctor.
Oh.
Yeah, I found that quite interesting. But he changed over to acting, and he played a drunken doomsayer in The Birds.
Oh, another one.
Yes, yes. The thing with Swenson and Sorensen is they both actually returned to play those characters again. So despite his voice not being good enough for the film, Ricky Sorensen was returned to play Arthur on television and albums and things. And Carl Swenson returned to play Merlin again, television, on record, specially made things. But he passed away in 1978.
So a year after Cabot. Okay.
Yeah.
Archimedes is Junius Matthews, who we'll know, who we know as is Rabbit.
He's Rabbit. He also voiced Owl, but not in the film.
Oh. So when did he voice Owl then?
I think it was just as like a little clip somewhere along the line, but he was a voice of Owl, but not in Winnie the Pooh. No.
So not in the Honey Tree.
Not in Winnie the Pooh.
Right. Okay.
Because obsessed with death, he died in 1978. Same as Merlin. Same as Merlin, and a year after.
Although the Winnie the Pooh shorts were released before.
But as for the film, no, it was just mainly Rabbit.
And then last but not least, Madam Mim is Martha Wentworth.
Any
No, you go.
Me go? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So anyone who listened to 101 Dalmatians last week would know that not only did she voice Nanny, but Lucy the Goose and Queenie Cow. She died in 1974. And one of the random things that I found about Madame Mim, and if you know the reason for this, please let me know, because it's so random.
Right.
So in the UK, until it came on Disney Plus, her line when it comes through, it's like, oh, sounds like someone's sick. How lovely.
Yeah.
And then it goes, I do hope it's something serious, something dreadful. That second bit was cut from the UK release.
Why?
And it's been reinstated for Disney Plus. And there's no reason for it. None that I could find anyway. I spent quite a while looking for that reason. So I don't know whether it was just considered a bit like sadistic. Oh, I hope it's something deadly serious. But there's nothing even in the UK close to that time, apart from there was a deadly smog. And obviously we had the war 20 years before and stuff, but
weird.
I can't imagine either of those would have had any effect on that line.
No, I've never knew that.
So, but it is reinstated for Disney Plus.
Okay. Oh wow. Right, so we'll move on to the music.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say it's been since Peter Pan that we've had a few songs.
Yeah.
Because Sleeping Beauty only had
the one.
And so did 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah. Lady and the Tramp.
Lady and the Tramp, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But then that was only the year after Peter Pan, so...
Yeah, so we'll say Lady and the Tramp then.
Yeah.
And we've got 5. There nearly was 6, but that was cut. But yeah, so we've got 5. And they're all written by the Sherman Brothers. Mm-hmm. And this is their first animated film.
Yeah.
And I think it's their first released film, although they would have been heavily working on Mary Poppins by now.
I wondered whether I could do something I'm going to try and name as many as I can in like 30 seconds of what they did. 3, 2, 1. They did The Parent Trap, Summer Magic, Sword in the Stone, Mary Poppins, Happiest Millionaire, The Jungle Book, Winnie the Pooh, The Aristocats, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. They did The Tigger Movie, the 2011 Winnie the Pooh film, Saving Mr. Banks, Christopher Robin, Mary Poppins Returns. They did Carousel of Progress, The Enchanted Tiki Room, Epcot Center, and the 1964 of New York World Fair, It's a Small World.
Yay! It's 29 seconds.
Amongst others.
I know.
They were just the ones I heard of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was writing them down and I was like, I'm going to try and do that in 30 seconds. Practicing. On that note.
Yeah, no, I was just going to list the songs. So we've got like the intro song, The Legend of Sword in the Stone.
Bear in mind, I've watched this film before. I don't think I've ever heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. That plays no part in my subconscious. Even now, apart from the fact that it was a bit close to being out of tune.
Yeah, it reminded me on the start of Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, well, funny you should say
that. Okay.
Oh. So, in fact, no, I'll get to that a little bit later.
But yeah, very similar. You know, we've got the book opening.
Yes.
We've gone back to the book opening.
Yes, we have to have a book.
Yeah. And, you know, already it's setting the tone of the film, albeit the way that it's drawn is now this new modern, you know, Xerox way. But the story is clearly, well, it's like, is it pre-medieval?
It is. I mean, it's a legend that goes through, but this version is based on a book.
Yes, which I've written down by T.H. White, and it was published in 1938, but we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that in the facts. So the songs. So we've got The Legend of Sword in the Stone, Higgitus Fickitus, which is, I think, my favourite.
Yeah, that's the one I know, yeah.
That's What Makes the World Go Round.
Yeah, that was in there.
A Most Befudding Thing.
I don't remember it.
It's a squirrel.
No, still. It's not.
And then The Marvellous Mad Mim.
I do apologise for any listeners that may have either suffered a heart attack or eardrum explosion.
Yeah, so A Most Befudding Thing is when they're squirrels. What Makes the World Go Round is when they're fish. Higgitus Fickitus is when he's packing up. But all really good songs. And I think...
It says you. I think there's just the one good song.
Oh, no, I always sing What Makes the World Go Round. That's what makes the world go round.
And there's more singing.
Yeah, there is more singing. I'm not going to say I'm in the shower singing The Legend of Swords in the Stone. But, there has been an occasion while I've been cleaning. And, I will be...
Yeah, that's fine. I do prefer Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, I will say that. I think as a song that's made up words from a magic character, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo is better. But I don't think this is a bad song.
I think as well, looking back, you know how you can just... Everyone's got a sound. And we know that Disney... reuses certain song creators quite a lot. Menken and Howard, Lin-Manuel.
Yes.
And they all, you can tell that is a Menken song, and that's a Manuel song, and that's a Lopez song. And it's the same with the Sherman Brothers. These... rhyming of made-up words.
It's a jolly little tune.
Yeah.
It's a jolly little tune with just some...
Yeah, but the fact that they chuck in words that aren't English to make it rhyme. Yeah. And it works. That's their thing. I mean, they do it famously with Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Can you say it backwards?
Expeditiousilufus.
Even if that was right, it'd still be wrong. In the film, how she says it backwards is not... how you say it backwards.
Oh, really?
It's just wrong. It's the parts of the word written in the wrong order.
Oh.
It's not backwards. It's pronounced, spelled and sung differently.
Well, then again, it depends on how you say it. Is it backwards as in the words or...
It's the vowel. So you've got
because if you were to say, sing it backwards, would you say... So, would it be... Stone the in sword of legend there, or would
that's how they sing it, but it's actually when you sing the word backwards, it's completely different.
Then it would be inots ethne dors vo dengel et. It's like an old language.
Somewhere upon that, I'm sure you've just put a curse on me and my family.
So we've got a good, I'm not saying the best, but we've got some catchy tunes there. Jolly tunes, as you said, I mean, Higgitus Fickitus,
it's jolly,
it's funny.
Yeah.
But with these, I think where they're not as strong as what we're going to get from the Sherman Brothers is simply that they're good when you're watching the film. You need to be watching it in order to enjoy the song. I think listening to it on your phone or
doesn't do it.
Just does it. It's not the same.
No.
I'm not going to put my earbuds in and and find Higgitus Fickitus and listen to it work.
No. Weirdly enough, though, It's a Small World is actually on my Disney playlist.
Oh,
yeah.
But it's a Disney playlist.
But it is a Disney playlist,
I'm going to have to remember to put a couple of these on my Disney playlist for the car. You know, when
Maybe.
we drive to Disney.
Yeah, Higginses, definitely.
Yeah.
Sherman Brothers were made Disney Legends in 1990.
Yeah.
And they have a window at Disneyland. So I think that having a Disney Legend Award now is not as powerful as it was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by having a window at Disneyland has become the
new...
That's the biggest achievement.
Yeah.
And when you walk down any of the parks and you
Mm-hmm.
see the names,
Mm-hmm.
it's... Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know where in the park their window is?
Well, on Main Street.
Yeah, but which...
No, I'm
No,
afraid
I
not.
can't
No,
think.
I think it's only at the California one as
I was
well.
going to say, is it just at the
I think it's in the
Disneyland
music shop.
one? Okay, well that would make
So
sense.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, those windows, I think
Mm-hmm.
they're just
Yeah.
they're. Yeah.
I mean, we said last week, for those listeners who haven't listened to last week's episode, that we are going to finish, take a break.
Yeah, from the classics
after
for
this film, because
a week or
it's
two.
a good time to. There's a couple of bonus episodes that we want to do.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this will be the last one that Disney had
But
an
Disney was
input in.
alive
Yeah.
for everything,
And
the
I
release
think
and
the
everything.
Sherman Brothers, again, this is like they're gonna be involved very much
lot,
after
yeah.
this. So we will do
We'll look more
lots
on
of facts
yeah.
on them.
We'll look more on yeah.
But it's funny because to me, I always thought that they were involved with even more than what they are known for.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of the earlier films that I thought, I thought
101
they did the music
Dalmatians,
to that.
I thought they did.
Yeah, I thought they did.
I thought they did
Cruella
it for that.
de Vil.
Yeah. I'm not too sure about any from the 50s.
No, maybe
but
Peter Pan. I maybe thought that
yeah.
was, but it turned out not.
No.
That this is when they come in. It's the 60s. But yeah. And obviously I don't know yet because I've not looked into them, but like one of the Sherman brothers is still alive.
Yeah.
And has been alive for, I think, since I was a kid, on his own. Like, the other brother died years and years ago.
I don't think it was so much as a kid. I think he passed away because I must have been alive in 1990 to get the Disney Legend because it was done it as a pair.
That must have been not long after
I
that,
think
then.
it was the 2000s.
Really?
Early 2000s.
Oh, no, I think it might have been before.
I mean, we'll look more into
I
them.
only saw the other brother.
There is a documentary on Disney Plus
Yeah.
called The Sherman Brothers.
Yeah.
That's why I think
Yeah.
that his brother lived to the 2000s because there's bits...
Is it not reused? Well, when we look into them,
Yeah.
because obviously we're going to do, as a bonus episode, we're going to do Mary Poppins, aren't we?
Yes.
And I feel like that's...
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
there. That's
that's
one of the
there.
main...
Yeah, definitely. Right, so shall we get into the facts? You were saying earlier you didn't manage to find loads.
No.
This didn't have a lot that I could find either.
No. I mean, for me, the majority of the facts that I have for this film is more about the recycled animation.
Okay.
So, as we know, Sleeping Beauty was a bomb.
Yeah.
And it was the cheaper production of 101 Dalmatians that kind of saved the animation department, the company.
Yeah.
This one continues that trend, but now is starting to reuse animation. So by reuse, it means that they are, rather than someone actively drawing everything out, they're kind of tracing over the top of old drawings, but with the new characters.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot over the next 3 decades, a lot. For this one, we mentioned about the opening credits.
Yeah.
Reminding you of Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, are they the same?
Yeah, they're reused.
Oh.
So, obviously not the words and stuff
No,
like that,
that's
but the
changed.
background.
Right.
The background for the opening credits is from Sleeping Beauty.
Oh.
So it's been reused. There's a scene when Arthur falls with some dishes.
Yes.
And that's
Whoa,
with...
whoa! And he falls down.
back.
Yeah.
Well, Pellinor and Hector, they're both laughing
Uh-huh.
when he falls. They are the 2 kings in Sleeping Beauty.
Oh.
It's redrawn.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Hector, Sir Hector
it's just...
looks the spitting image of Prince Philip's dad.
And they are both
King
drawn.
Hubert.
The deer that Kay tries to shoot...
Yeah, that's clearly Bambi's mum.
...is Bambi's mum. And it is. It's reused.
She's alive!
She's alive! Well, this was set before Bambi, so she survived this.
Oh, God.
Only
I'm surprised she survived that long.
And the Red Knight jousting scene.
Yeah.
Not only is it reused from a short called The Truth About Mother Goose, it is the scene.
Oh.
The whole section until the joust goes and knocks the tower, which Merlin's in. That is in The Truth About Mother Gothel. Mother Goose, sorry. Mother Gothel's come on completely different.
Yeah.
And for... when Hector swings the sword and hits Kay on the head.
Yeah.
That is Horace and Jasper from 101 Dalmatians.
Oh.
So much so they use the exact same sound.
Oh my God.
So that is the main reused bits. And actually when you look at the film, apart from the bits when they're animals or creatures and Madam Mim comes in, that's the film.
I mean... It's funny because it's been made, this point has been made a lot in loads of articles and books and documentaries about these films that have reused these. And at the time, it never bothered me before. But since doing this, and starting from the beginning and reading why he did Snow White and why he started his company. He is still very much alive, albeit this will be his last that he has been involved from start to finish. He's still very much alive at this point. That alone being approved by him shows his lack of interest in the animation department.
I mean, yeah, it
because
does.
the Disney 30 years previous doing Snow White would never have done this.
Do you know what? Not in the feature films, I agree with that. However...
Because it was all about improving, doing something new, moving forward. This is not moving forward when you're reusing.
Well, Mickey Mouse, a lot of those early Mickey Mouse shorts are Oswald shorts. And he remade a lot of his Silly Symphonies, but in colour.
Right.
And he reused a lot of gags and things throughout cartoons, and it's just repeated, different characters and things. So he did do a lot of reusing in the shorts, which obviously are different from the feature films.
Yeah.
But I think actually in this case, I don't mind the recycled animation as such.
As a viewer and watching the film, it doesn't bother me.
I'm more aware of it as a fan.
Yeah.
But to a casual viewer for us, so those examples I've just given, Sleeping Beauty was 1959. You may have watched Sleeping Beauty once, twice. 4 years later, are you going to recognise the same animation?
Well, I guess not, because you only got to see them in the cinema.
It's only a little clip.
Yeah.
And it's the same 101 Dalmatians, although there's a shorter period of time. It is literally just someone hitting another. It's, these films were re-released, but later on.
Yeah.
And I think it's only since people have been seeing them on video,
Yeah.
when you can watch them as many times as you like.
That's why we're noticing it more.
And that's,
Yeah.
So...
Which Disney obviously had no idea that was coming.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because he passed away long before.
I mean, the fact that they were starting to be... Weirdly, there was a home market for home videos. They were small little reels of film. I think they're called 8mm films. And different companies would do it. And Laura and Hardy was starting to release... I mean, they'd passed away at this point, but their rights to their film were being made on these so people could project them at home.
Okay.
You also had recorders, which recorded straight onto film canister film reels. In the late 60s and early 70s, and then obviously a decade after that is when you got Betamax, VHS, and then Laserdisc and so on. But he wouldn't have thought about doing the home movies, I agree with that, but because he was looking at television and different things, I think that if he was alive in the 70s, we would have seen more home media releases, because he would have loved that, because at the end of the day it will make money, and it kind of appeals. It's that family viewing, rewatch the characters, rewatch the films. But at this point, reusing animation,
I can see why it does get a lot of negative coverage from both critics as well as fans. Because
when it's noticeable, I agree. When it's not, and those characters are doing the same thing anyway, why wouldn't you? It's...
I think it's more like, for me, the one that stands out the most, and we've not come to it yet, is obviously the reusing of Mowgli dancing with... No.
It's Baloo and King Louie.
King Louie dancing, and that's the cats dancing in Aristocats.
And it's used again in Robin Hood.
Yeah.
With Little John and Lady Cluck.
Yeah.
And
that is straight away.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Obviously, it's reused further. We've said it's not just from there. So there is a scene when Arthur is licked by castle dogs. That's reused in the Jungle Book when Mowgli is licked by the wolves. The squirrel scene is in The Fox and the Hound.
Is it?
So the squirrel with King Arthur when he's running across the trees and all of that. It's Fox and the Hound.
But it's the foxes instead of the squirrels, or is it squirrels?
It's the squirrels.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, when we get to Fox and the Hound, I'll look out for it.
You'll see it's right at the beginning.
Right,
it is right at the beginning, but it is there. And there's a scene when Arthur's at the beginning again of this film. Arthur goes into the forest to retrieve the arrow that Kay has shot. Basically, that exact same thing happens in the Black Cauldron.
Oh, well, the pig running away. Yeah.
So it's the same scenes.
I mean, it's a shame because it's almost like the people making this film in particular, even though they had the big hit of 101 Dalmatians, I'll get to it in a minute, but the feeling that, they needed to find ways to keep the costs down so much in order to keep the department alive I think it's really sad that it got to that point, because he clearly wasn't willing to invest in that department anymore. He was away doing other things. He was moving forward with this company and away from what he started with.
I mean, to me, that I agree with that mindset where, because he's got television programs which he's making now. They made them at a loss. But it was free advertising. Yeah. So the costs were covered from that.
We know that he uses clips from like Alice in Wonderland, Japan, in his television.
So he's got those. He's then got live action. So by this point we've seen 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
Had
Treasure Island,
Swiss Robinson.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of those. He's starting to get into the comedy element when you see the absent-minded professor, the shaggy dog.
He's
and
also
those.
doing his nature documentaries as well.
And then we've got the likes of Mary Poppins coming up, which is being made
at this time.
We've seen Song of the South and So Dear to My Heart, which has used the same kind of thing. And also his animated features, if you look at the past 20 years, and at this point, they've only been doing them 26 years, you had Pinocchio was a failure. Mm-hmm. Fantasia was a failure.
Yeah.
Bambi. The War Shorts.
Oh, yeah.
There's like 6 of those, so that's 9.
Yeah.
Then Cinderella was a hit, but then you got Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
So that's 10. Peter Pan and Lady and the Tramp, they were high hitters.
Yeah.
And then you've got Sleeping Beauty, which bombed. That's 11.
Yeah.
And this is what, number 17?
Yeah.
So 11 out of his 17 films animated have
not done as well as he
have
thought.
done poor.
Yeah.
And
yet, is it because, you know, as I said in the previous film, is it because, well, you pointed out times have changed. You know, at this point, people are more interested in sci-fi, going to space.
Yeah, you've got the space race, you've got television.
Even musicals are struggling.
Yeah.
They struggle in the 60s.
Yeah, and television's there.
Yeah.
Whether it's black or white or colour, it doesn't matter. It's in your home. And, you know, whereas films have always in the past kind of had to fight it out with stage plays and books, they're now having to fight it out against television, which is huge.
Yeah.
You know, and even Disney's like going down the TV route with his shows and with the parks. So he as a man is being spread quite thinly, and as a company they're being spread quite thinly, because at this point not only were they doing the television, the animated, the joint animated and live, the live action theme parks, to keep themselves alive during the 40s and the 50s they were doing animated commercials and things. So they've spread themselves so thinly, and now they've got comic books, they're doing books, there's
merchandise.
It's starting to kick off around this bit. There's a friend of mine who's a little bit older. She had a Cinderella doll from when she was a kid, which would have been the 50s, 60s. So we're starting to get more of that. And if animation's not producing the money, I can see forward, and I actually think at this point, if I can't believe I'm saying it because of the Black Cauldron and the Rescuers and stuff, but at this point, if this was the last Disney animated classic and then they restarted again The Little Mermaid, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that era, would it be a great loss?
Yes!
But would it?
Yeah!
See, I don't think it would.
Because we wouldn't have gotten Jungle Book, we wouldn't have gotten Robin Hood, we wouldn't have gotten the Rescuers.
But does that matter in the course of Disney history? Because at this point, they were just trying to find what was at the back of the cupboard and remake that. Which is true of the early Renaissance. Yeah. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So, I think with this, I can 100% see why that decision. So it looks like I'm agreeing with...
Oh, his brother.
Roy.
Well, so what I'll do is, let's get on to that.
Yes.
So I got my big book out, you know, that animation book, and so apparently Roy tried to convince Walt to stop making new animated feature films, and it was a long discussion for years. I think even from before, since Sleeping Beauty, this conversation had been going. But apparently, during this film in particular, it was brought up again. And he said that the re-releases alone would help fund, other things.
Yeah.
And that because of how much it costs to make new ones, the department didn't make money.
No. Only when they were re-released.
However, yeah, and that was the thing, because he said, you're wanting to build another park.
Yeah.
So where are you going to get that money from if you're spending money on this?
Bombs.
Yeah. However, he, said to his brother that he would agree to make an animated film every 4 years, but he did not want to get rid of the department. And then, which makes sense because
it works out about 4 years each.
4 to 5 years, I think it is.
Yeah. I think the biggest gap is...
it's Black Cauldron, isn't it? And Rescuers.
No, because you've got Fox and the Hound in the middle, but it's the Rescuers and Fox and the Hound.
Yeah.
I think that's 5 years.
So...
so that makes sense. I think at this point...
And we know that, unfortunately, his brother has not got the same mindset as him. He's not creative whatsoever. He knows money.
Yeah.
And he knows, the business side.
Yeah.
And it's a case of,
it's a good business decision.
Yeah.
It is a good
on
business
paper,
decision. Yes.
And you can see why, since his death, it's brought up a lot and it nearly gets shut down.
Yeah.
Again, which we'll get to
a little bit later.
Yes. 20 years later.
Yes.
But it does come up, and even now, the rumor mill of the company being sold and chopped up, and all the different departments being sold off has been going around for, I think, 10, 15 years.
We see repeated over and over again throughout time when, Snow White could have been the last one. Did well.
Yeah.
And then it could have been Ichabod and Mr. Toad. It could have been Sleeping Beauty. It could have been 101. It could be Sword in the Stone. It could have been The Black Cauldron. It could have been The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
It could have been Chicken Little.
Yeah.
It repeats over and over again,
but it's still there, and hopefully, I mean, we've kind of gone completely off a bit from the actual film, but
no, but it's a discussion still, within the film.
Yeah, because it happened while this was going on. Yeah. Right. So I've got fun facts.
Go for it. And then I can tell you about my videos.
Okay. So, we mentioned at the beginning that it was written by T.H. White and published in 1939. Disney bought the rights in 1939.
Oh, so straight away then.
Straight away. This was really quick.
Yeah.
But that could well have been, the age of his girls. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they would have been born by now and they would have been reading. So it could have been from them.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be because the legend of King Arthur.
Yeah.
He would have known.
Yeah.
And that would have definitely been on his list.
Yeah.
Of stories to do. But because it was a trilogy, I think, of books.
Yeah, I know this.
But this is the first one.
Yeah.
And apparently it is true to the first book, albeit the odd, Disney vibes thing. But it's, there and thereabouts. It's not completely.
No.
So that first book is about Arthur and Merlin's relationship when Arthur's a boy. So yeah. We said earlier it's the first animated film with songs by the Sherman Brothers. It's the first animated film to be directed by one person.
Okay.
And it's Wolfgang Reitherman.
Oh, yes.
The last film Bill Peet served as a writer. He would later leave the studio, and that is the early development of the Jungle Book. But I'll get to him in a minute because I've dug a bit deep.
Ooh.
Yeah, into that. Last animated film to be completely produced by Disney himself before he died. 4th Disney film set in the UK. Knit Cal based Madame Mim's transformation into the beautiful woman on the layout artist Sylvia Romer.
Okay.
Or Raymer.
Oh, sounds like he had a bit of a crush.
I know. And Merlin and Mim's battle scene is apparently one of the best the experts believe Disney has animated due to the way that they change.
Yeah, the complexity.
And the fact that you can still clearly see who's Mim and who Merlin is. And 70 actors read for Merlin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which shows that he was clearly going to be the main.
Yeah.
You know, he really wanted the right voice for that part. And apparently various attempts at developing the film had happened over the 2 decades. So, yeah.
I think with one of the things with Merlin, and what I really liked, and I cannot tell you if we've seen it before in any of the films, even the last one, 101 Dalmatians, which is basically set in the time it's released, if there's so many current contemporary references, because Merlin goes obviously goes to the future, which is the 20th century, and then he comes back and he's got his sunglasses, his billabong shorts, he's got his shorts and his things.
Bermuda.
Yeah, and it comes up a lot, and it just reminded me of the genie in Aladdin.
Yes.
So I would be curious to know if there was any of that based on.
The genie puts the shirt on.
Because I'm sure that shirt that the genie wears is the same pattern as
the
those shorts.
Yeah.
But we'll have to have a look.
I know.
We'll have to have a look. I know he wears the goofy hat.
Instead of a plain baseball hat.
Yeah.
And he doesn't wear sunglasses, but, you know,
so
it's still very,
I liked that. I like that link, and I like it just adds a little bit extra to his character. Yeah. I like the little train thing, knowing how much Walt loved trains.
Yes, and he got a little train in there.
And there was a little train there, and, you know, they did say that they based a little bit of Merlin on Walt. It
apparently
was
his nose.
Is
So which was, pardon me, when I said at the start of the film that with this being the last that he would have seen.
Yeah.
Whether he liked the film personally or not, the fact is that, you know, homage was paid there, respect. They had no idea that he was going to die 3 years later. And yet they've created, again, another wizard off of him.
Yeah.
You know, so... And apparently the personality is quite similar.
Yes, that's what,
Merlin could snap.
Yes.
And get quite serious all of a sudden. And then Walt...
And we've seen that a few times.
Yeah. Walt was very similar. Speaking of, obviously, so Bill Peet.
Yes.
So this Bill Peet guy, which we've read a couple of... Although he's been there from the beginning, apparently since Pinocchio. He has been there. But these last 2 films and The Jungle Book is where, unfortunately, his
association ends.
Yes, it's in a negative way, and it's not him.
No.
It's Disney. But when I read into it, because it really bugged me, like, why? Like, all these other animators, and we've watched the documentaries, we've read things, nothing really negative has ever been said about Walt. But other than, you knew when he was in the room and they wouldn't misbehave, and that, he was highly respected, and, there's been lots of weird and ridiculous stories over time of exaggerated things.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they did respect him, but he was the man in charge. He was a great he was a great storyteller.
Take two.
Yeah. Great storyteller.
Take three.
Which they all respected
Yeah.
and agree on. And the things that, he did push them to do did work out. And he was a perfectionist, so sometimes that caused
is
issues.
weird when you talk about Sleeping Beauty.
I know.
Because
we said that, didn't we?
Yeah.
But that's because his mind was clearly elsewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this Bill Peet guy was apparently very similar in terms of personality to... He was very strong-willed, like Walt Disney. And this is why they clashed, and often publicly, as in front of other animators, and in like big meetings, and it would be over like storyboards and things like that, and I think at this time in particular, obviously nobody knows, and even Walt doesn't know, that he's got lung cancer yet. But even though he's gonna
pass away,
he isn't there. So he's not died yet, but like we've said, he's not really there as much.
Yeah.
And these guys are thinking, well, is he entrusting us? Are we getting to take full reign? Are we getting to go our own? And yet, when he did make an appearance and he did come in to approve or disapprove of things, it was kind of like a bit of a slap in the face, and like, well, you've buggered off to play, with your park, or with your live action films, or to travel to London, or to do the New York Fair, and to do all this, and yet, we've been your creator since the beginning, and you're not, you're still not letting us have full control.
And to be fair, when we've said things in the past, like, was it Sleeping Beauty that was rewritten a few times over the course of 10 years?
Yeah.
Lady and the Tramp was...
Yeah,
he
well,
literally...
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, and then even in 101 Dalmatians with the Cruella de Vil song.
Yeah.
Hated it.
Yeah.
And then, like, 45 minutes, he wrote
45
it.
minutes.
It's like...
I mean, we're starting to get a bit of a better picture, I think, now, of the kind of environment that it would have been. I'm not saying that these creators didn't like their job, but you can see why certain people left.
Yeah.
So Joe Grant's gone.
Yeah.
This Bill Peet guy's going to go.
Mary Blair's already left.
Yeah.
Come back.
And gone
left
again. And although Chuck Jones, who I
Yeah.
mentioned in Sleeping Beauty, he
Yeah.
was temporary there because of Warner Brothers Studio being
Yeah.
riddled with termites. And even though he could have stayed at Disney, because he didn't like how he ran the department, he left. We know that, no, actually, because I didn't put it in, but Don Bluth is somewhere around here. I'm sure of it.
No, I think he's a little bit later.
Oh, is he? Because he too leaves.
Not too much later, but a little bit. I think
I
he's...
thought he just started out at this point, but maybe not.
No,
Maybe
I don't...
it is later.
Yeah, I think his issues and stuff are
that's
more
obviously-
late 70s. Yeah.
But, yeah. The majority of them seemed quite
Yeah.
not happy, but
Yeah.
it worked for them.
Yeah.
But then you've got the odd character who's like, no,
Yeah.
I am doing good work here.
I mean, a lot of people, and I think that was the issue, that basically why the Dark Ages was the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Because you had the 9 old men who were one by one going to the parks, leaving the company, retiring, and there was no one new to be trained.
No.
Because the people who they were getting in left.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah, well, Mark Davis is now at Webb at this point.
Yeah. So
he's no longer
it's...
animating.
Yeah.
He's doing work for the parks.
Yeah. And others are as well.
Yeah,
And it's
Mick
like...
Cal goes, because he does Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. And I can see why... I can honestly see Roy's point of view. And I can honestly see Bill Pete's point of view as well. Because if you're there doing your best with no direction and someone just comes in every few weeks and goes, oh, that's all a bit crap, and then walks away again for another few weeks, you're done. You've had enough.
Yeah, because you can imagine, say he's had, a really difficult time with the Mary Poppins thing, right, for example.
Yeah.
Because we know that to get her to sign off, which we'll get to when we get to that film, was a really... But say that was causing him so much issues that he was taking it out on the one department that he treasured the most.
Yeah.
Because you do.
Yeah.
Your loved ones are always the one that gets it. And it's like, well, this is his baby. This is what he started with.
Yeah.
So he's gonna come away from all the other stressful projects and take it out on this one because this is his first love, and he's still... I think maybe if they'd had that structure that we have in companies now, they could have picked
delegated
someone, picked someone to run the department, someone he trusted to run the department and make those hard choices that he used to make.
Yeah.
And to save him from... But because he didn't do that, unfortunately, it did cause some... You mentioned last week on 101 Dalmatians with Ken Anderson.
Yeah. Another one who...
So...
I mean, he didn't leave, but obviously because he had a talent.
Yeah. The guy that drew...
Sleeping.
The original lady. Now he left because that was Joe Grant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he left because he kept butting heads with them.
Yeah.
So you've got guys there that could have done the job if he just entrusted them and left it.
I mean, the likes of Mark Davis and Joe Grant, they are the ones that I feel could have taken over, and then Ken Anderson. And then you have people like Ollie Johnson and Frank Thomas. They, and some people did step into those shoes after Walt disappeared, and we'll get to talk about that more in future films. But you got to the point where he's such a big part of the company that's missing when he goes, and that's because he didn't plan.
Yeah.
And the opportunities he had, it must have been a pride. It must have been a pride thing. And, he was...
Well, you said it best earlier. He stretched himself far too thinly.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, unfortunately, after Sword in the Stone is when, he's probably already being noticed as looking older and, struggling. And it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Right, well, that's all my facts.
Yes. I can head over to the releases and stuff like that. Just before I do that one, Merlin, obviously you can do a meet and greet at the park. Not a lot.
No.
He has disappeared.
I've never
seen
him in Disneyland Paris, apart from the odd special parade.
Yeah.
I think he made an appearance at the 100 parade.
I was going to say he's a rare character.
Yeah.
I believe he used to do appearances at Inventions in the Disneyland Hotel
Okay.
in Paris. I could be wrong on that. No, Geppetto did.
Oh, yeah, you could
So,
have.
because I think
Obviously,
that's
no
what he
longer
did.
that.
No.
No.
There was the Merlin's card thing at the boutique where you go past a mirror and you could... I can't remember what that's called. But the main one is the Sword in the Stone.
Yeah.
So, just for anyone who's
Have you
not
ever
aware...
managed to pull the sword out of the stone?
No, I haven't. I've only tried once.
Oh, okay.
I've never done it a lot, but they have a ceremony.
Okay.
It used to be daily up until the 2000s, and now it's just occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
I have been there to see one of them.
Really?
Yes. And it's
Which park?
Paris.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. And in Disneyland in California, the carousel is not Cinderella's carousel, as it is in Walt Disney World. It's King Arthur's carousel.
Right. Is that the same in Paris?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't notice whether Paris or not, but which basically has nothing to do with the film whatsoever.
No.
But the reason why all the horses are white is because the original one, Walt noticed that everyone wanted to ride the white horse.
Okay.
Because heroes ride the white
Yeah,
horse
and
and
villains.
princesses ride white horses.
Yeah,
Or
and villains
fair.
ride black horses.
So everyone wanted to be that, so they just painted them all white.
Well, they're coloured in Disneyland
Yeah,
parks,
yeah. But the original,
Yeah.
even in California kind of thing. So the film received a re-release in 1972 and in 1983. Its first VHS was actually in the UK in 1983.
Wow.
And in the US it was 1986.
Oh. Yeah, I definitely had this on video.
It was re-released more, and I didn't have it on video, but it was re-released more. I had this one. I had the DVD, which was 2001. And the Blu-ray was actually 2008. The original Blu-ray that was released, they remastered it. They used a lot of almost like an AI kind of visual noise cleaning thing, and it altered the look of the film completely. So much so that when it was re-released on Blu-ray, it was a brand new master, which they did in 4K.
Okay.
Didn't release it on 4K, but the version on Disney Plus is 4K.
Right.
And it was there on releasing day.
Oh.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, there's not really a lot for this one.
I mean,
it's
for me, I don't think it. I mean, it's apparently on the list to be remade.
I don't think
live
it
action.
needs.
I don't think it needs it.
No.
I think these are one of these. It should just be left as it is.
Done.
I don't feel like they're going to make it any better.
No.
And
there's so many other versions. The TV show of Merlin.
King Arthur's been done so much.
It's just to the point where it's like, do you know what? It's done. You're not going to add anything to it.
No.
Let Disney's attempt at this be the animation, because I mean, and this contributed to my score as well. There's nothing wrong with this film. There's nothing amazing.
Yeah.
But there's nothing awful.
Mm.
It's just very down the middle.
Okay.
Film.
Yeah.
It's basic, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. No, I mean, I'm jumping the gun now, but that's why I gave it 3 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just a middle.
Right.
It's just a basic film.
I gave it a 4.
Really?
Yeah, a strong 4. Like, it nearly got a 4.5.
Now, you see, I thought out of the last 2 that we've watched, because I can't count Sleeping Beauty, because we all know my feelings there. Out of the last 2 that I've watched, I felt that this wasn't as strong as the one before, 101 Dalmatians, which is why it got the 3, and purely because it's just a film.
Mm.
It's, as I say, there's nothing absolutely fantastically amazing about it, but there's nothing absolutely awful about it.
Yeah.
it's there. It happens.
Uh-huh.
It's not a slog to watch.
Well,
and we'll move on.
I've actually had to watch this a lot recently because it's...
And that surprises me.
Well, last time I was at my mum's, which was last month, Jacob picked it. And Finley's asked for it a couple of times as well. So even though I did re-watch it for the podcast, I didn't really need to because I've had to watch it. But I wanted to re-watch it because I don't know what it is. I just really enjoy watching it. Like, I won't watch it and be on my phone. Like, I'll sit and watch.
I struggled. So I watched this last night. I didn't realise the time. So by the time this finished, it was way past my bedtime at 10. And I must admit, towards the end of that film, I could feel my eyes starting to go. It wasn't because I wasn't enjoying it, but there was nothing there to keep me alert, awake. So, but again, there was nothing there. You know, it wasn't Mulan cutting her hair, so I weren't falling asleep.
This was one of my dad's faves. So when we did have it on video, it was on a lot when he was home.
I wonder if it's because it's a boys' film.
Yeah.
Because apart from Madame Mim and the cook.
Yeah. And I don't mind stuff like that.
No,
sometimes I think, like, it being a boys' film, there's nothing wrong with that. And, and I mean, we said 101 Dalmatians, like, that did have female characters in it. And apart from Cruella, the boys were
the characters.
Strong. Yeah, they were the stronger-ish ones.
And even when you go back to Sleeping Beauty, you've got the prince is stronger than
her.
Yeah. And then before that, you got Lady and the Tramp, and that's majority male, apart from Peg and Lady. And then before that, you got Peter Pan.
Yeah.
So there are a lot
the
of
boys
male.
Have got a few. Yeah. I think this is a good one for boys. It's a nice story.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the story of King Arthur. I think I've seen. I'm not going to say all, but I've seen a good chunk of all the different versions.
I liked the TV show that they did about 20 years ago. I cannot remember his name. Who was It was Merlin. That was the name. I liked that. I enjoyed that. I've enjoyed some bits. I think it's been done to death. I think we spoke about that when we've done Peter Pan and Snow White. And
Alice in Wonderland.
They have been done. Yeah. It's time to put them back into the cupboard now. Yeah. We're done with it because we've got enough. We're not going to get anything new.
The reason, one of the things I felt with this one that is why I only gave it a 4. There is a few reasons, but one of the reasons was, although I love the scratchy look of the animation, like the 101 Dalmatians, and we're going to see this, I didn't feel it made that era of England anything special.
No.
That film could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
That castle could have been anywhere. Those duelings could have been anywhere. It could have been France. It could have been anywhere. Whereas in 101 Dalmatians, you knew it was London.
That's London.
And the way that the layouts were designed were so good. Whereas in this, the background is what lets it down. And I know that seems so silly.
No, because, it's part of it. It's part of
who's looking out for the background, but it's because
anyone who's watching the screen.
Yeah, it does make
part
a
of
difference.
it. Yeah.
It does be part of the. Yeah. But and I did feel that there was just a few scenes that could have been shorter.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there needed to be a little bit more music in the background.
Yeah, you said
that. To break up some of the
dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like when it's not Arthur or Walt and Merlin.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No.
The other characters.
Well, they're all horrible, but
But they're not likeable horrible. Yeah. They're annoying horrible. I mean, that Kay. Oh, I just want to punch him.
Yeah.
He is such a dick.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that you're meant to feel, but...
And yeah,
I don't care.
he's stupid.
Yeah, I don't... That's one of... Do you know what? I like this film.
Uh-huh.
Out of Disney films, I would say, yeah, this is... Watch this. It's one I'd recommend. But it's... The things that are... It doesn't hit the mark on certain things.
Yeah.
And the things it does hit the mark on are not amazing.
For me, what I like about it is strong enough that I'll put on the film and I'll sit and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's why I give it a 4. Whereas with what was it that I gave a 3.5 out of? Yeah, Lady and the Tramp.
Oh, no, you see, I preferred that to this.
It's because the story is not one that I enjoy.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Whereas I like this legendary, you know, and like I even wrote down, like, I'm rooting for Arthur. Like, I want him to get out of that horrible place and being used. Basically, he's a slave.
Yeah.
Even though they have
slaves.
But they are just so horrible to him.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for him. And oh my god, well, Merlin is just fab. Merlin and Archimedes.
Yeah, I like that. I would be interested to know what they would do with those characters now. You know, because we have a little bit more of a different comedy.
Yeah.
And there's advances, obviously, with computer animation that you couldn't do in 2D. So I just wonder what they'd kind of mix.
Yeah. I mean, I did write down that although we like Madam Mim, is she really a villain?
She's not the villain.
No. And I think having her randomly appear near the end and not have her earlier in the film is such a shame because she's
such a good character and one of those Disney villains that kind of should get more credit.
Yeah.
You know, I have strong feelings about the Black Cauldron, and the Horned King deserves more credit than what he gets as a Disney villain.
Really?
Yeah. He is literally raising the dead to kill everyone.
You can't have that in a Disney park, though.
No, but as a villain, that's one of the darkest things.
Yeah.
And Madam Mim, although she's not dark, she's humorous. She's a likable villain.
Yeah.
Like in the same way Corella's a likable villain.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It's how, like, lackadaisy shit is with the whole, like, oh, I'm going to kill you now.
Yeah.
Like, as if, well, are you really surprised?
Yeah. And also, there's something about the fact that she just doesn't like Merlin that makes me think that...
And it's the whole game, the competitiveness. I win! Like,
those two have bumped uglies in the past.
You think?
Yes, they have. They have bumped uglies.
Wizarding school.
Maybe they are Arthur's real parents.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I've got to say about the film, to be honest, unless you've got more little bits to...
No, I've made my pros clear. Yeah, I think it would have been a 5 if certain bits were cut and like the background or the layout.
Yeah.
The layout design was stronger.
It needed elevating, and that's where I'm at. Where
it's like it's got the good songs, but not the flow between the songs.
Oh, Jamie,
it does.
It's got one good song, and it's not even. I wouldn't even say that was an amazing song.
No, I'm not saying it, but it works in the film.
It does.
That's where, yeah.
And on that note.
Yes, on that note, we shall end this week's episode.
Yes, and this first series.
First block.
Yeah. We've got some plans for some specials, so we're going to do a bit of an overview of everything that we've covered so far.
Yeah, in case, because like I've just had to look back there on Lady to
and
remind myself, but rehash our scores, make sure that we're still happy with our scores.
Yes, if there's anything new that we've found out, or any old disagreements that we can put to bed.
And we're going to do Mary Poppins, aren't we?
And Mary Poppins.
It's fitting because it would be really...
Well, it's the next film released from Disney.
It is the next, yeah. But it will be the final masterpiece, I think, in terms of Disney fans, what they think. But, you know, where Walt's had input from the very, very, very beginning. All the way back when he found his daughters reading.
And it's fitting because Mary Poppins is one of those biggest films. And I think now it's one of those biggest... Well, it's one of the biggest live action films that Disney has. Yeah. So it's fitting that we put it in with the... Before we move on.
Yeah, to the era without Walt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Black Cauldron's coming soon.
Well, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah.
Bye. Hey, write a review.